Shalom.
Hi.
I'm Hadassa from the Real Hadassa.
I'm Rena from OzrimOlim.
And we are here to answer some of your questions about making Aliyah. We actually got a lot of questions and some of them were kind of repeating themselves. And what we've done is we've broken it into a bunch of different categories. And we're going to kind of give some advice on each topic that we hope really answers all of the multiple questions that came in.
Yep.
Okay.
Benefits.
This
is very much my alley. So when you make Aliyah, there are a ton of benefits, and right now on my page I'm actually going through each of them and I'm making a video about each of the different benefits that you get when you make Aliyah. There's also a lot of ways to maximize getting them because sometimes you have to fight a little bit more and circumstances are different if you are, just an Ola or Ola Hadash versus if you are a Katin Choser, or there's a lot of different circumstances that make your status different, and different benefits apply for each of these types of circumstances. But what's important is to be on top of your benefits and to have them all. I made a chart for myself when I made Aliyah and wrote down each benefit and how long it's for, because they're all for different durations. Like your tax break on your income in Israel is for 10 years, whereas you only get a tax break on your lifts for 3 years and things like that. So I wrote down, so I was able to keep track of each of my different benefits, but what the benefits are, you can find them on Nefesh B'Nefesh's website, and you can also find them just in general. There's a lot of information throughout the internet, but I'm also going through them all as we go.
A lot of this Q&A is going to be make sure you're following Rena and funnily enough, and actually doing the reading. It's like a really hard part of making Aliyah and one that I was spared of because I came as a kid. But there is a lot of information and a lot of facts, and it can be somewhat daunting and overwhelming at times. But if you know where to look, and Nefesh B'Nefesh really has translated so much of this information, so it's available for us. Just follow her and do the reading and you'll probably find your answer. Housing.
This is Hadassa.
I think this is quite a difficult one. The real estate in Israel is very, very different than the way it works in America. And asking yourself questions like, should we be owning where we live? Should we be owning where we can afford and renting where we want to live, etc.? All those questions you're going to want to start asking yourselves now before you make Aliyah. It might not be worth your while to buy property here. It might be worth your while to actually rent it because the prices here can be different. Our entire economy is kind of based differently around the prices of real estate. It's what makes a lot of the other parts of life much cheaper, believe it or not. So this is definitely a tricky one, and it's not going to be the way it was wherever you came from, but it is figurable. What I really want to keep in mind is that the houses here are very, very different than what they are in America. And when you're making Aliyah, things like the amount of storage you're going to have here, the space inside the closets, winter closets versus summer closets, kitchens, Pesach stuff, etc. This isn't what this question is per se about, but if you are making Aliyah, you're going to want to start minimizing in a really good way to kind of start cutting back on all of the things that in America you might feel like you need, but in Israel you don't really. And get rid of as much of the stuff as possible so you can come here as light as can be. There are definitely things that people should and shouldn't bring, and that's a question for the lift, and we'll get into that later. But I think that now is a great time to take a step back from the materialism and kind of come into Israel as an Israeli, leaving behind a lot and heading forward to something new. I would say make sure that when you're looking for a property here, you're finding out things like how long it's been around for. Look into things like the lighting, the water pressure, etc. I know it's like obvious, but it'll make or break your experience, and you probably can find a newer, more renovated apartment somewhere in that community. The houses are going to be smaller. People are going to start sharing rooms possibly. It's really doable. We all manage here, and we all have great lives here.
Lifts. What to bring? So first of all, things that you should not be bringing. Appliances.
Don't bring them.
People can get a transformer, but they are a hassle, and appliances just aren't that expensive. They are more expensive than in America. Most things are, but they aren't worth bringing on your lift. Just buy new appliances here.
I also want to interject and say that the appliances in America often don't fit the needs and the spaces of the home. So
Exactly.
You can bring your dryer and you won't be able to get it into the door of the designated standard laundry room.
Exactly.
You're going to bring a KitchenAid and not have where to put it.
Right.
So like it's not just the dealing with the transformers, which by the way, they'll break after a year.
They do.
You're going to have to buy it anyway eventually. It's going to be annoying. You're not going to have enough in the house, and leave the appliances there and come get the amazing Israeli stuff.
Also, your massive furniture. If you have a giant couch, sell it. you're not gonna be able to fit it. Your space here is going to be smaller. However, at the same time, bring the type of furniture that, like if you have a decent sized kitchen table, bring it. It might become your dining room table here, but you know, your coffee tables, things like that. Furniture in America is cheaper, I will admit. So it is great to bring as much as you can, but be aware of the space that you have. I've also created on my Amazon storefront, I have a section for lift. I don't have most of the products in them, but a lot of them are space saving. Like there's this cube that you can take out each side and it turns into a bunch of stools. Like things like that, like they help. Also, there's also on there a bed that folds, like the base of the bed that folds down, and it has 18 inches of storage underneath. That is crucial. Also, it comes folded, and so it's really doesn't take up a ton of space, and it's great. I do have that, highly recommend it. Things like that. Also, bed bases here are really expensive. But so you want to just reduce like what you actually need, and really think about, like, again, like we're not materialistic here. You know, have what you need, but we don't do excess. So sell as much as you can before you come.
I will say that regarding like the furniture, the big furniture, the small furniture, obviously it's going to depend on your space.
Right.
If you know your space and if you know your massive couch is actually going to fill that living room really well, definitely bring it because it will save you a ton. Meaning the furniture there is bigger and cheaper. That is sometimes a good thing and sometimes a bad thing. So just make sure you know your spaces. I also want to recommend bringing things like duvets, pillows, and towels. Bed liners, those kind of things. They are super expensive here, and they will not take a lot of space on your lift, and you're going to want to have that. The way I like to like break it down basically is that like everything basic here is very cheap. School, cheap. Food, groceries, cheap. Like healthcare, it's all kind of cheap. Anything that's a comfort is very expensive. So you want like nice feathery pillows, pay up. Right? But like if you have stitches, you don't have to pay anything. We'll do your stitches for free, of course. So it's just a different mentality. So I would bring those items in your life that bring you comfort. Another thing I'm gonna say, which is very, very materialistic and people might not think about it, is the decor for the house.
That's true.
Home decor here is just, we're still a little behind. And we're bringing things in from all over the world, etc. But it's very, very expensive. And you can walk into Marshall's and get things for your entire living room that would cost you probably 18 times the price. I'm not even exaggerating. Like I'm not even exaggerating. If it costs $20, it would have cost me like $400 or $500 to get made here. Like it's really like that. So bring home decor.
And rugs. Bring rugs. They're so expensive here. It's ridiculous.
And if there's no room in your house, I'll take it.
Yeah, you can sell it. You can
just
sell
give
it
us your
all.
Bring the rugs.
Bring rugs, please. I could use a nice rug.
Is the one thing you want to bring. Definitely also music, equipment, and anything like that. Pianos. Bring your pianos. That's definitely something I would take out a lift for. The mattresses might be different for you to adjust to, so if it fits in your room, get the mattresses. Right,
especially if you're bringing a bed base, definitely bring the mattress as well. Also, the mattresses in America are nicer and cheaper, so
we're being very honest here. We're not like...
And this is exactly what you see what you get.
Exactly. It is, like, we want you to make Aliyah, and we're going to fully prepare you for it. Like, it's going to be a crazy ride, but you can do it. You can do it.
Yeah, totally.
All right, what is our next question? Making the move with kids. So I'm not speaking as a person who has made the move with children. I'm speaking as a person who made the move as a child. When it comes to the choice if the child should be involved in the decision or not, I think every family is going to know their own style. I think something as big as the family moving to a different country isn't a child's decision. And when the parents kind of present it to the children, obviously in a loving way and in a caring way, but in a very final, this is what's happening, we got you, we're going to do this way, it kind of makes the child have to either get with the program or not get with the program, but there's a program. And as difficult as it is to move, and it's so transitional, the fact that I knew every moment in the move that we were not turning back, we were home, that we were in our new home, and we have to make it work here, that was very settling for me as a child. And when I would sense that maybe it was up for debate, which it never was, it would just be more like, oh, I'd hear the conversation. Maybe it always rocked my world in an awful way, because it's hard to make Aliyah as a child, but your parents giving you that certainty that this is what we're doing as a family, to me, was one of the biggest things that really helped me come to terms with it and eventually decide to live here fully and have a family here as well. So that's just the first decision. I think in American parenting, there's often this, we're a little more gentle, we ask questions, we make suggestions. Like, I wouldn't ask your child if they want to to move to Israel if you decided that that's what you as the parent are doing as a family, you know?
Right.
And I don't mean that in a like, don't ask them, just tell them. Of course not. Like, but don't present it to them as a choice if it's not a choice. If this is the right thing to do for your family, like it's, you know, a few more tips regarding learning Hebrew. My parents like didn't push us at all. We just went to school and picked it up. By Hanukkah, I completely understood what was happening in the class fully. So that's about 2-3 months of not really knowing what's going on, which to be honest, after I knew Hebrew, I felt that way many times in class. So like, whatever.
Right.
Okay, 2-3 months, you're a little out of it. I was a bit out of it. But within 2-3 months, I picked up the Hebrew, and by Pesach, I was speaking fluently. I was 8 years old when I moved, and I'm not a genius. Like, I was very classic. You just got to put them in an Israeli school system, and they'll figure it out. They'll learn the Hebrew. One thing, like, my parents are very easy with us when it came to having days off. If they could tell we were struggling, we were tired, we were done, we were drained, they'd give us a day off, take us out on a date, spend some time together. And this is what we were talking about before. I don't know what my parents' plan was financially, etc., with the Aliyah, but if I was doing this now, even with my family at the age and stage that they're in, I think there should be, in the budgeting of the Aliyah plan, a significant amount of time where one or both of the parents isn't working, so you can really help your children transition into the schools and really be there and be really present and be solving their problems before they become problems, and be as involved as you can with your children's Aliyah. If you're holding your kid's hand through this, not like, all right, here you go to school, that's it, you're done, but you're showing up, you're calling the teachers, you're asking questions, you are involved in their Aliyah, it's going to be a better Aliyah. They're going to be okay. And I think if you're coming as a family, make sure you're budgeting that amount of months of you not having income. So either you, your partner, whoever it is, so that at least one parent is really making sure the kids get through it. Just make sure that whatever comes out of your mouth as the parent who's making this change, that you are not putting any doubts in that kid's mind. There's no room for debate.
Right.
So
you have to make it fun for them.
Yeah.
Just
And
like
then you make
anything
it
in
fun.
life.
And then
Right.
you make it fun.
Right.
But once you've given that really strong, yummy stability, then you can make it fun.
Right. Also, if you have children with special needs, Nefesh B'Nefesh actually has a resource. They have someone who handles, that specific situation. Reach out to them, ask them specifically. They will give you a contact. Also, reach out to Yachad Israel. They're a great resource also. They've handled this many, many times, and they will help you. It is possible. You're not the first to do it, and people are successful. So finding a community, we've gotten a lot of questions about this. I personally am asking these questions as my husband and I are trying to figure out where our next move should be. It is not an easy one. We have a solution. We're going to talk to our people, and we are going to get back to you.
Yes.
But stay tuned, okay?
There are, seems to be that many of us are looking to find a community. We know how to help. We literally sat and we talked and came up with a solution. So we're just going to do it, and then hopefully we'll be able to send it out so we can help you guys. Because yes, we do need to find the communities here.
Jobs. First of all, if you're in high tech, you'll find a job. Okay. If you're not in high tech, I actually recently made a post on my page for helpful Facebook groups. Facebook in this country is basically the Yelp, the Google, the everything. I don't know how people, do it without. I am a very big proponent of Facebook. There are groups that, tons of jobs for English speakers, jobs for Olim, in general. But also, if you have a job that can go remote, get a remote job now in America or wherever you are located, because you can still do it from here, especially post-corona. It is a very, very common thing to be able to do your job in Israel. So that's number one. That'll also help you financially. It's a very, very good track. But in terms of getting a job here, go to Facebook groups, LinkedIn also. I got my job on LinkedIn, just apply. And you don't always need to know Hebrew for your job. That's a very common question. It's not necessary for a lot of industries, but they'll tell you straight up if you need to know Hebrew or not.
You touched on it, but I think seriously look for a remote job where you live right now and where you're coming from. If you are in a remote model, there are a lot more pros than there are cons. And it'll probably significantly impact the financing and the ability to actually make Aliyah successfully. There are many people here that work American hours. We go online at around 2 to 4 p.m. here. You log off at between 10 to 12 p.m., which is hard, but most places also allow an hour or two off in the middle of the day to get some family time in because they'll understand. But it really works, and you can work an American job with an American salary with English speaking, etc. No transition. And the fact that you live in Israel, it just doesn't make a difference.
Right.
So if you're really thinking about making this Aliyah journey, if your job currently can't be remote, I would look for a job in what you do that can be. I was sharing that I know a friend of mine is a nurse who works as a remote nurse, and she takes calls from patients online, and she's able to work in Israel. That's the kind of thing you should be looking for, and it exists. It'll help make things a lot easier when you come.
That's something I would also recommend for families more, because if you are single and you need a social life and you're trying to meet people and things like that, I don't recommend having an American or job and outside of Israel, because you'll be working different hours. People who come here with American jobs, for example, and they have to work at night, having a social life and meeting people is a lot harder. So also when you're single, you are more than able to support yourself on an Israeli income. So I would recommend getting a job here. And a lot of companies will not hire before you're in Israel. They won't even look at you if you don't have an Israeli phone number. Some will, but not a lot. Once you're here, you'll find a job. So finances. First of all, everything here, as we mentioned before, we're less materialistic. We don't care about what brand anything is. We have basic needs, and we're trying to survive as a country. So it's very different requirements. Once you realize that you're getting rid of all these extras and you're just getting what you actually need, you don't need as much money as you really think. The things that are important are pretty much paid for. Our schooling, our healthcare, it's affordable. It is. It's really doable. People just see the numbers on the housing and they freak out. It's because you're not paying for anything else. Like, think about it. How much you're paying for Jewish education in America or in other countries in general, it's expensive. So if you put that towards your housing, you realize, oh, I can do this. Also, it's more common in Israeli society to live paycheck to paycheck. People are comfortable doing it. They're not used to, giant pots of savings. It's not as common. So that's one way that people are comfortable living. It really depends on your needs and what you're comfortable with. We can't tell you how much money you need to come with. We don't know what your family needs. We don't know how you live. Everything, is different. It all depends. Generally speaking, just whatever you think will make you comfortable. It's not as much as you think. You don't need billions of dollars to make Aliyah. It's not what everyone's always saying.
The standard of living here is completely different. Things like vacations happen on way lower standards, and events, etc. And I think you just have to be smart and budget. Ask the questions, try to plan as much as you can. As soon as you know what's happening, it's very relaxing. And it's hard when you make Aliyah because none of the numbers make sense to you, and things that you've always understand and be able to calculate in your head, you suddenly have no idea how much they're ever going to cost, It's a very hard thing to go through as an adult, moving from finances in one country to another, but it is doable. And if anything, when you guys come to Israel and feel like Israel is very expensive, you're doing it as like tourists. Right. And Israelis are trying to make money off you.
That too.
When you live here as an Israeli, life is much cheaper than that, and you don't eat out as much.
You're also not going to Ben Yehuda every single day, or Mamilla. I don't remember last time to Mamilla. You don't all live in the center of Jerusalem, you know?
There's a whole country outside of Jerusalem.
That's true.
That's all I have to say. But it is doable, and you do have to have a budget that you can stick to. And like we said a few times, and we'll say it again, try to give yourself as much landing time and save up as much as you can, so you can actually live for a few months here and give yourself a chance to get into it, to learn the Hebrew, to learn the language, to get a job, to make some friends, to find your place before you're suddenly overwhelmed with the fact that you have to start raising up. I think people usually save up for about a year to two, and they're able to do it. But you got to start now. I want to take a second to say that there's a lot of conversation right now about making Aliyah and coming to Israel, etc. And I don't think anybody should feel like they have to come to Israel and that's why they're doing it. This should come out of a place of choice and of love and opportunity. It's a very, very big decision. And if you think it's a reality that you're going to have to go through as a family the next few years, whether you like it or not, best to start early and to plan and to feel in control of it. And to, God forbid, get out of whatever situation is happening elsewhere in the world, to already be here and to not have to run away from it. I think that's really huge, and it's fine. You make it work here. You make it work, and it's worth it, because you have a hard day and then you have a good Israel day, and just nothing in the world is like a good Israel day.
Right.
Just nothing.
Right.
Nothing in the world. We hope we're able to answer your questions, and thank you for listening. Bye.